Okay, let's unpack this. We are digging into the world of Colorado general aviation today. Specifically, we've got the November 2025 issue of the Flightlines newsletter.
Right. And our goal here really is to get you up to speed quickly on, well, three main things. First, some pretty intense local advocacy battles happening over airport infrastructure. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, intense is the word. Then second, the safety side, specifically the unique challenges, the real high-stakes stuff involved in mountain flying.
Exactly. And third, we'll touch on some upcoming events, fly-ins, actually, that mix aviation with some really fascinating local history and even space exploration.
And the hook, I think, is that these sources, they show a real tension. It's not just about flight plans and weather. It's politics,
Hmm.
real local political fights over basics like, airport funding.
Hmm.
And it's also about physics, flying over mountains routinely topping 13,000 feet.
Yeah, something pilots in, say, Kansas just don't deal with daily. So let's start with that political friction. That takes us straight to Longmont, Colorado.
Right. Vance Brand Airport, KLMO. This seems to be the big flashpoint right now, this landing fee ordinance they're trying to push through.
It really is. It's the top action alert for general aviation folks in Colorado. The Longmont City Council is, well, they're driving this.
And they pushed it forward, even though, get this, public comment was massively against it. The source says, late October. October 28th, they voted 4-3 to move it to a second reading.
That's right, a narrow vote. And that second reading is scheduled for November 18th, 2025, so it's happening soon.
So what's the core fight here? Why are they doing this?
Well, the way the Colorado Pilots Association frames it, they're the ones fighting this. It's like a clash of identities for the airport. The city council seems to view the airport basically as like a recreation facility.
Like a golf course or something?
Kind of, yeah. Their thinking goes, why should visitors, people not based here, get to use this thing for free?
Ah, okay. But the pilots are saying, hold on, it's not a park. It's critical transportation infrastructure. That's a totally different category.
Yeah. Exactly. And that distinction is key because its status as infrastructure is precisely why the federal and state governments already pick up, like 95% of the tab for upkeep and improvements?
95%. So why the push for fees now? What's the city's angle?
Well, the city staff are basically trying to cover a gap. They're citing a need for about $160,000. That's partly to cover a current deficit, apparently, and also to fund the 5% local match they need to put up to get those big federal and state grants.
So they want the transient pilots, the visitors, to cover that 5%.
Essentially, yes,
Oh.
by taxing non-based aircraft landing there.
But wait a minute. If
Yep.
95% is already covered, is $160,000 really worth antagonizing the entire flying community that uses the airport? You said the public comment was overwhelmingly against it.
It was. The source mentions 30 speakers against the fees out of 35 total speakers. That's pretty clear dissent.
Wow, yeah.
And this local fight, I think, it kind of reflects a bigger national tension you see sometimes. Municipalities are often strapped for cash. They look at airports and think maybe, revenue source.
While the pilots see them as vital links in the national system, protected by federal funding rules that often restrict these kinds of fees.
Precisely. So the proposed fee is somewhere in the range of $2 to $5 per 1,000 pounds. That's for all aircraft not based at Longmont. The final details, the amendments, those are expected on November 18th.
And the CPA, the Pilots Association, what's their strategy now? Damage control.
Pretty much. Their goals are basically try to keep the dollar amount as low as possible and maybe get it applied only to heavier aircraft, say above 2,500 pounds, not hitting the really small guys.
Are they suggesting alternatives? Other ways for the city to find that money?
They are. They're trying to show other paths, like suggesting the city could apply for a state grant, for instance, to fund electrical infrastructure needed for new private hangars. Maybe even tie it to supporting electric aircraft development. Collaborative ideas, not just taxes.
Trying to be constructive. But the force points out something interesting about one council member, Matthew Popkin.
Ah, yes. Councilmember Popkin, he's actually on the Airport Advisory Board. In the source notes, he sat through hours and hours of public testimony, first at the advisory board, then at the council meeting, overwhelmingly against these fees.
And he still voted to move the ordinance forward.
He did, which, it signals a pretty profound disconnect, doesn't it, between the community input and the council's direction, or at least his view.
Yeah, it suggests they're really locked into seeing the airport as maybe a financial burden, unless it directly pays its way, which is problematic for infrastructure.
Definitely a problematic viewpoint for transportation infrastructure.
Okay, so from political friction, Let's shift to physical friction. High-altitude flying in Colorado. This is where things get uniquely challenging from a safety perspective. The source mentions 550 peaks over 13,000 feet.
That's the landscape. High-altitude flight isn't unusual here, it's routine. And the source points out a key risk, hypoxia. Specifically, sometimes pilots might bend the oxygen rules a bit. Well, imagine you're flying, maybe VFR, and weather forces you higher than planned. If your plane doesn't have built-in oxygen, and you didn't bring a portable bottle because you didn't expect to go above, say, 12,500 feet.
Then you're suddenly in a situation where you legally need oxygen but don't have it.
Right. And the thing is, how your body reacts to less oxygen, it varies hugely. Someone living in Denver is more acclimated than someone who flew in from sea level yesterday. Many pilots just don't know their personal limits.
Which is risky. So what's the recommendation?
This is where the source has a really clever practical suggestion, something I hadn't quite heard framed this way before. It's a way to do a personal controlled oxygen test legally in your own plane.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does that work without violating FAA rules? The aha moment, you called it.
The trick is using the rules smartly. FAR 91.2 anon, that's the regulation. It says between 12,500 feet and 14,000 feet, the pilot can fly without supplemental O2 for up to 30 minutes. So the suggestion is, find another pilot to act as your safety pilot. Crucially, the safety pilot must be using oxygen, maybe from a portable bottle.
Got it. So the safety pilot is fine, totally unimpaired.
Exactly. Then you, the pilot being tested, fly the aircraft up to maybe 14,500 feet. That's just above that 30-minute grace zone altitude for the pilot.
So you're replicating conditions where oxygen is legally required for longer flights or altitudes you might briefly hit.
Right. And at that altitude for about 15 to 30 minutes, while your safety pilot watches and is ready to take over, you deliberately try to perform standard piloting tasks.
Like what? Tuning radios? Centering the needles on a VOR?
Yeah, exactly. Or doing simple mental math, maybe reading back instructions clearly. You're basically testing your own cognitive function as the oxygen level drops slightly.
That makes so much sense. It's not about simulating a catastrophic decompression like in an altitude chamber.
Precisely. Altitude chambers often simulate, 25,000 or 27,000 feet rapid severe hypoxia, which is useful training, sure. But this test simulates the insidious, creeping impairment you might actually face crossing a high mountain ridge in Colorado at, say, 13,500 or 14,500 feet.
It's applied knowledge, specific to the environment you fly in. Knowing your personal threshold, how quickly you start making small mistakes at 14,000 feet, that's incredibly valuable information.
It really is. It gives you real data on how you personally handle that common mountain flying scenario.
Okay, fascinating stuff on the safety front. Let's shift gears completely now. Forget the risks and politics for a second. Let's talk about the fun side, the travel, the exploration. The fly-ins mentioned in the newsletter sound amazing. That trip to Hutchinson, Kansas, back in October, that sounds like a weekend of extremes.
It really was. Talk about mood whiplash. First, they went deep underground, like 650 feet down, exploring the Stradaka Salt Museum. It's still an active salt mine with, 150 miles of tunnels? Talk about subterranean.
Wow. From deep Earth to outer space in one weekend. Because then they went to the Kansas Cosmosphere, which holds apparently the second biggest collection of U.S. space artifacts.
Yeah, second only to the Smithsonian. And we're not talking just models. They saw the actual restored Apollo 13 Command Module Odyssey, Gemini X, Liberty Bell 7, even a flown SpaceX Falcon 9 engine.
That's incredible density, from a salt line to the moon race.
Yeah.
But maybe even more profound, in a different way, was the fly-in closer to home in Nuclear, Colorado back in September.
Nuclear. That one highlighted a different kind of human ambition and sheer tenacity. The main event was a tour of the incredible ditch.
Right. A 20-mile-long irrigation ditch over 100 years old. And the story behind it, it was hand-dug over 9 years.
Hand-dug by the Colorado Cooperative Company, using just picks, axes, dynamite, shovels, mules, and wagons. That's it. Think about that, building a 20-mile waterway through mountainous terrain like that to bring water from the San Miguel River to Nuclear and Netrito.
It's just an amazing feat of perseverance. A real monument to early Colorado settlers.
Absolutely. And then there's this charming detail about Nuclear's airport now. The source mentions the modern airport building is open 204/7,
Okay.
and the code for the electronic lock. It's just printed right there next to the door. And inside, an honor system fridge with drinks and snacks.
Seriously. That's fantastic. Talk about a contrast with the fee fight in Longmont. It speaks volumes about local
It
trust.
really does, a different world.
Right.
And looking ahead, the newsletter previews an early 2026 trip, Phoenix, Arizona, April 10th to 12th, flying into Falcon Field, KFFZ,
Trading Colorado Spring for Arizona Sun sounds good. What's the plan there?
visits to the Musical Instrument Museum, the MAM, and the Desert Botanical Garden, culture and nature.
Nice. A good reason to fly south. Okay, one last area from the newsletter, leadership in the future. There's a transition happening at the Colorado Pilots Association.
Right. Adrian Nye, who's been president, is concluding his term. He hands the gavel over to Andy Holmes on November 8th. And Patrick Brennan is stepping up as the new vice president.
And the best bit, Adrian Nye, after leading this group of pilots, might finally buy his own plane.
That's the rumor. He's apparently thinking about it, weighing options, a Mooney, maybe an RV-9A or a Sling C.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that. It'd be fun to know what he chooses.
Definitely. But more seriously, for the next generation, the scholarship program is kicking off again soon. Applications open January 1st, 2026, and close mid-February. 2 main scholarships.
Okay, what are they?
First is the Walt and Terry Barbo PPL Scholarship. It's for Colorado students aged 16 to 22 aiming for their private pilot's license. And Walt Barbo, he's a legend. WWII service pilot, still flying his Cessna 210 at age 101, at least as of last spring. That's inspiring.
Wow. Age 101 and still flying.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second scholarship.
That's the Emily Howell Warner Scholarship. This one supports female pilots who already have their PPL or higher. It helps them pursue advanced ratings, instrument, commercial, multi-engine.
And Emily Howell Warner, she was a pioneer too, right?
Absolutely. Hired by Frontier Airlines, based here in Denver back in 1973, she was the first woman to fly for a scheduled U.S. commercial airline since, like, the 1930s. A true trailblazer. So these scholarships cover the whole spectrum, from first license to career steps.
That's great to see.
Mm.
So, wrapping this all up,
Mm-hmm.
what's the big picture from this newsletter? We've hit on, tough local politics, high stakes, safety needs, and these really cool historical fly-ins.
I think it means that being involved in general aviation in a place like Colorado, it demands more than just flying skills. You need to be an engaged advocate, like in the Longmont situation. You need to be an expert in specialized safety, like the hypoxia awareness. Basically, dealing with the fee fights and mastering the high-altitude challenges. That's kind of the price of admission for the sheer joy of flying here.
Yeah, that connects back to that article by Adrian Nye, the outgoing president, Why They Fly. I loved his description of watching pelicans flying in formation, just flying, for no obvious reason.
Right. No mission, just movement.
Exactly. And he said his Civil Air Patrol flights sometimes felt like that's just an excuse to be up there. For the view, the mental exercise, or, as he put it, the pure joy of it.
And that's the core, isn't it? The political fights, the
Correct.
safety focus, that's all the necessary groundwork, the scaffolding to protect that ability to pursue the joy and the discovery that flying offers.
So maybe the finer thought for you, the listener, is
Yeah.
what's your pure joy of it? Whatever it is you're passionate about.
That's it.
And are you involved in protecting the infrastructure or the community that makes it possible? And yeah, on a lighter note, maybe do some digging, find out if Adrian Nye bought that Mooney or the Sling. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.